Hello, and welcome to another installment of Conquering My Collection. And this time around, I wanted to just talk about a few different films, almost Blu-ray update style, that I watched on my holiday. Me and Connie went to Norway for a couple of weeks and had a really nice time there. And during the evenings, I was able to relax and check on a few films. And it was this weird thing where, when you pack in for a big trip, it's like, there's always like, did I pack everything? Have I got this? Have I got that? And literally my stepmom was at the door ready to bring the suitcases into her van to drive us to the train station. And I thought, oh shit, Blu-rays. So I grabbed a disc wallet and I was like, and I just was grabbing stuff from the shelves and kind of just jamming it into the thing. And Connie's like, Luke, come on, we got to go. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. And I thought, that film, but it was wrapped in cellophane. I was like, oh no, I haven't got time to unwrap the cellophane. What do I do? So this is literally like a grab bag of just like random stuff. But mainly I was focusing on some Masters of Cinema releases that I want to kind of get to. But I mean, I want to get to all of them at some point. But it was just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So I'm going to dive in here with a few things that I watched and what I thought of them. Very wide array of movies. We have German, we have American, we have Chinese, Taiwan, Japan. So quite a different array of... and there was another one. Where's the other one? It's down here too. Hong Kong, yes. So first up, we have Spy number 261 in the MOC collection. The Indian Tomb. So this is a two-part silent epic from 1921, I believe. Yes. Directed by Joe May. The first film is The Mission of the Yogi, and the second is The Tiger of Eshnapur. So this is... It was a wonderful return to me to silent cinema. I absolutely loved watching these films. They're not perfect. And I guess you can call it two films, you can call it one film. There's certainly issues with pacing. I think even as a kind of hardcore, diehard silent film fan, it does drag a little bit. But it's about this architect who is enlisted by an Indian prince to build him this monument to his wife. And it gets a bit more complex from there, but there's kind of mysticism, there's kind of magical elements to this, and there's some incredible sets, like jaw-dropping, like D.W. Griffith type sets, like not quite Intolerance level, but you can very clearly tell the influence of Intolerance on something like this, where a few years later in Germany, they're like, well, why don't we try making sets that outrageous? Like at times I was like, is that a miniature? But then you can see actual human beings walking around on these huge, it's just gorgeous. Like the art design in this film is incredible. And you have Conrad Veidt playing the Indian prince, and he gives just a phenomenal performance. He has such on-screen magnetism, and I just was really taken by this. And it had an ending that made my jaw drop. I just loved going back to the world of silent cinema, and I watched both films over 2 nights, and I almost did the full. It's 4 hours with both movies. I almost did the full 4-hour whack because once the first film was finished, I couldn't wait to see what happened next. I put the second disc in and started watching for about half an hour. So, this film really captured me, and I really, really had a lot of fun going back to that time. Of the 1920s silent cinema. This one is Spy number 27 of the MOC collection, going back to an earlier kind of release. This is Repo Man, a film by Alex Cox. I was a bit more intrigued to check this out after having seen a year or two ago. I think it's called Partly Fiction. I'm not sure. It's a documentary about Harry Dean Stanton. And there's a clip of this movie in there, and it kind of made me want to watch this film a little bit more than I'd previously wanted to. This was just a release that I picked up because it was in the MOC line. I was collecting them. I didn't have a huge kind of pull to this movie in particular. Stars Emilio Estevez as a young punk who ends up working as a kind of apprentice repo man in Los Angeles, and Harry Dean Stanton kind of takes him under his wing. And amongst all of that, there is this intriguing side plot involving aliens, which I had no idea about. But I loved Harry Dean Stanton in this film. Emilio Estevez was kind of fun too, and it's a fun kind of relationship, kind of a mentor relationship that develops, but also the other people who work in the repo business, and just the on location stuff in LA was really cool. Like 1980s LA on film is just inherently cool and interesting to look at. And I love that line where he's talking about, Harry Dean Stanton's talking about how, like, when you're a repo man, like you got to be ready. You got no sleep. If you get in at 3, then you get up at 4 and you're back out again on the streets. And he said that's why every repo man I know is on speed. And it just cuts to them doing speed in his car at a later date, and then Harry Dean points over at some kind of like a dispute between some yuppies, I guess you would call them in the context of this film. And he's like, look at that, you see that? Ordinary fucking people, I hate them. And I just probably one of my favorite lines in a movie now. I just loved it. But this was super fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And that's one I really want to go back to. The next one, I actually went back and found the video where I first talked about this in a Blu-ray update 9 years ago. And I literally said something to the effect of, this is just to kind of fill in the MOC collection. It's spine number 12. And I said that I wanted to get this because it's an earlier spine number in the collection, and I know that it'll go out of print sooner. And here we are, 9 years later, I finally watched it, having self-admittedly not having a huge interest in it. And and it's out of print now and goes for silly money. So, and I'd memorized the name of the director, and it's already gone. The film is The World, and I believe that the director's name is Jar Zanke. I think that's wrong. That feels wrong, but I would say, obviously, from the way that it's spelt, Jia would be one, but I'm fairly certain the first name is Jar Zanke. I don't know. It's going to bug me, that, but we'll live. I'll live to fight another day and fight another pronunciation issue. So this is a film about a woman who works at this the World Park in Beijing, and it's all these different kind of miniature versions of locales from across the world. They have like a 3rd scale Eiffel Tower. And they have all these different kinds of like, buildings, iconography, like a mini Leaning Tower of Pisa, like all that kind of stuff. And again, these films I could probably do pretty in-depth reviews on, but I'm just making this video in case I don't get around to doing that, because I want to kind of talk about these films. And this is one I probably wouldn't see myself watching for a very long time. It's not shot on film, it's shot on digital video, which put me off at first, but I eventually became quite engrossed with it. Lots of kind of long takes and very natural kind of performances. And it's this woman who works in the park. She wears a lot of different hats and stuff. She performs as a dancer for these regular shows that they give to the people who are kind of attending the park. And then she works around the park too. And she has a relationship with a man who works as a security guard. And it's about their relationship. And I found myself actually towards the end really loving this until the ending completely pulled the rug out from underneath me, and I just couldn't believe what I'd seen at the end. So maybe it is one to go back to. But there's also there's another film on this Blu-ray, which is a documentary that's just over an hour long, 68 minutes, called Made in China. And it says it's a making of documentary. It's more profile on the director himself as opposed to this film in particular, and it goes into how this is the first film he made that the Chinese government actually approved him to make, and that his first 3 feature films were made without the approval of the Chinese government and were gaining success outside of China. And so just the kind of hoops you have to jump through to at that point in time to make a film. They even talk about how like they hadn't got their approval through yet when they're about to start shooting The World, and the director's like, if someone shows up, just deny that we're doing anything. It's almost like a guerrilla kind of project really, where it's like they're flying by the seat of their pants a little bit, but a very, very interesting film and kind of profile of the director. I really enjoyed it a lot. And the film itself was something that I had a lot of enjoyment out of, as it kind of really settled me into the characters in a way that I thought was really naturalistic and engrossing. Another MOC release here as well is Spine number 264, more recent release. This is directed by Lee Sing, and it is Execution in Autumn, film from Taiwan, 1972. This one came out of nowhere for me because the first 10 minutes or so I thought, why am I supposed to care about this? It's about a man who killed 2 people and is in jail for it. And in this setting and time period, and the custom is that people who are sentenced to death must be executed in the season of autumn. And so he is incarcerated just after autumn, so he has a year to wait for his death sentence. And his grandmother is desperately trying to get him out of prison, and he's almost leaning on that and saying, well, my grandmother's going to get me out of here. And he's a very petulant character, and he's impatient with the whole process, and he believes he should be out of prison. And it's beneath him to kind of, even be a victim of not even a victim, but to have gone through the legal law system, and that you've killed someone, so you're going to jail, right? And he feels he's above that, And I just thought, why do I care about this fucking guy? Like, it's just, it's shot well. I've really enjoyed. I like the sets and stuff, and the performances are quite good. But I felt like it was a film that was going to be tough to get into when I just don't really like the main character. But oh boy, did this film take a turn. And the way that, and I really want to do an in-depth review on this one if I can, but the way in which this story unfurls and the different characters within it, the grandmother and her part to play in this man, and the way that she brought him up, and the mistakes she made in bringing him up, the way he is because of her, and she knows that, and she feels guilty about that, and she tries to continue to save her family's name in ways that are just not right. And the way that it continues to develop, and the only criticism I guess I could say is it's an hour and 39 minutes. I would have loved a 3-hour version of this, where this man beginning to change takes longer and feels a bit more earned, I suppose. But I still completely 100% bought into this. The ending was amazing for me. I thought it was so bold and beautifully done, and I just love how it kind of came out of nowhere. I was enjoying it, but thinking, main character isn't that kind of interesting to me. And then it just kicked me in the gut, and this is a masterpiece to me. I absolutely loved this film. There's a different cover on the inside there. I wasn't sure, but this is just an absolutely brilliant film, and makes me want to watch more Taiwanese cinema. So that was the only frustrating thing about being on holiday with like 9 Blu-rays in a disc wallet, was I was like, oh, I want to watch more silent films. Well, shit out of luck. I want to watch more Taiwanese films. Well, shit out of luck, But it was great to experience these. And where was the other one down here? Yes. I mean, I've talked about the Mr. Vampire films quite extensively on my channel. This is kind of considered, part of the canon of the Mr. Vampire series. It stars Lam Ching-ying. It's Magic Cop, released by 88 Films. The only thing I didn't like about this is that the transfer is not like a nice 2K restoration. It's high definition. It looks fine, but I was really used to the incredible 2K restorations available, and a lot of the Hong Kong releases that come out of the past year or so, as I've been getting huge into these films. But Lam Ching-ying stars as a magic cop, basically. He's a police officer who has a history of kind of going rogue and making a mess, but ultimately kind of, cracking the case. And he comes to the city, and there's an issue, and there's some supernatural things going on that he could help with, but he's kind of, it's like that kind of the coaxing out of retirement kind of thing. And he also has this kind of Taoist priest side to him, as we've seen in the Mr. Vampire movies, but he has the kind of magic touch, no pun intended, when it comes to dealing with supernatural threats. And Michiko Nishiwaki, I believe, plays the the kind of sorceress in the movie, and she is just, oh, she is so good. She is such a cool screen presence, and she isn't listed on the back of the cover. She should be, and I do believe it is Michiko Nishiwaki. Apologies if I got that wrong, but so you got a great villain, a great hero, and just absolute Hong Kong insanity. There's humor. I just had a blast with this, and the whole last 20 minutes are just bonkers. It's amazing. It's like a video game come to life. They really just, man, I've talked about it just too many times, but the Hong Kong creativity in film is just incredible. So I love that one. And then finally, the last film I watched was one that I've been wanting to get to for a long time. It was just the running time that not put me off in terms of I don't like 3-hour movies. I love 3-hour movies. It's just finding the time to sit down and watch them. This is a Mubi release, and it is Drive My Car, which won the Oscar for Best International Feature Film, and was also nominated for Best Picture, which is kind of, I think, the first time a Japanese film had received that honor at the Oscars. But, you know, sometimes you just got to remember that film and cinema are far beyond the importance of Oscars or awards. But it does raise the profile, which is an important part, I think, of the awards conceit, is that when a film wins an Oscar, it's like, oh, well, let's see if it's, you know, is it really an Oscar-worthy film? And I do admittedly get sucked into that, but I was definitely intrigued to check this one out because I love films that take their time, have a lot of dialogue, and from what I understood, it was about a man who gets driven to and from the place where he's directing a play. And he's a stage actor who's now directing a play. And that's all I really knew. And I just imagine lots of car journeys and kind of conversations. That there is that in the film, but there's also more to it than that. This is an absolute masterpiece for me. The performances are brilliant. The characters, I loved. The way that the play and the kind of the dialogue and his process of rehearsing in his car with a tape cassette with his wife's voice doing the whole play except for his lines, and the way he responds to it, and the way that the lines he has to say at times are kind of actually responses to how he's feeling on the inside but is repressing in the moment, you know, and it's about you know, a process for him of repressing a lot of things that have happened to him that are not good, and he's pushing them deep down. And the film was about him coming to terms with that. And the driver who he's assigned, once he gets to the, it's mostly set in Hiroshima, where he's directing this play. There's a very lengthy kind of prologue to the film that's about 40 minutes until we actually get to the opening credits, which I loved. But this is one I will definitely do a full review at some point. There's a 2+ hour making of on this Blu-ray on a second disc, which is fantastic. The Criterion release only has like a 30-minute cut down version, so you get the full whack on this, which is really great. And I'm really looking forward to do a full review of it. This is one I definitely want to do the full kind of Blu-ray review treatment on. And there's so much to say with this film, and there's a handful of moments that I just think of, and it's like, I can't wait to watch it again, you know. So, and this is a film directed by Ryusuke Hamaguchi, and I really want to check out his other films now. So, Drive My Car, and that's it. That was the little stack of films that I checked out while I was on holiday in Norway and had an absolute blast with. I would say, yeah, it is dominated by Asian cinema, but we had an American film in there, directed by an English filmmaker. I think Alex Cox is British, not sure, or English. Not sure if he's strictly English or not, but British regardless. And then also a German silent epic. So yeah, I was really happy to get through some of the films in my collection I hadn't seen yet. Many more to go, of course. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And if you've seen any of these films, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.